Okay, no Blue Jackets jersey, but this is the Blue Jackets season preview for the upcoming season. Last 3 years have been interesting for them. They've had continuous playoff success. They've been able to get in. Being a high 90s team, they probably would have been about mid-90 if the season ended points-wise. And then the last 2 years, they've got into the playoffs or the play-in round in last year's case and eliminated someone that was a bit of a shock for a lot of people. I think when they beat Tampa Bay, it was a bit more of a shock, especially the way that they did it. And then they just couldn't go any further after that. And then, obviously, the year after, beating Toronto in a real crazy playoff round. I remember Toronto came back in that game. Dubois got a hat-trick and wanted them to win, but that game, Toronto came back, and then they just won Game 5 and was able to progress on. And then the weird Game 1 against Tampa Bay that went on for 47 hours. They had to push games back. It was just chaos. I remember it was like the first or second day of the playoffs, and they had to push all the games back. Seth Jones played an hour. Corpusalo made around 4,000 saves. I think it was like 93. So it was a modern day record because they didn't keep track of saves back in the day, but they think that in the other longer games, there was a few that were like 0-0 up until like the end of the fifth overtime period. They reckon some of the goalies in that probably got over 100 saves. But wow. So it's been up and down for this team. They've had somewhat success that fans can get around, but at the same time, they've never really been knocking at the door to go any further. They seem to get a star like Panarin or Rick Nash, or Rick Nash is a little bit different, Bobrovsky, and they won out after a few years. And we might be going through the same thing with Pierre-Luc Dubois. His upside could be crazy, but he wants a bigger stage, and that seems to be the constant thing of this team, is that if they do get a star, it's a player that wants a bigger stage, and then they need to go again. However, they've been retooling on the fly. They've been able to do very well in the draft. So let's go through what this season's going to be for. So the outs thus far are Josh Anderson, Wenberg, Nutrivara, and Ryan Murray, who was the second overall pick in the Yakupov draft. Oh boy, they're not looking great. Of course, Josh Anderson was traded for Max Domi, so he comes on in, and it's going to be super interesting to see how Domi and Torts get along. It's either going to really work out because the personalities are just going to be like, they're going to see it from the other one's point of view, or it just isn't. There's not going to be middle ground there. And Mika Koivu, who I think rounds out that sort of top three centres down the middle there. Because if Domi can get it together and have a better year than the year that he had 2 years ago, and Dubois is good, then Koivu can kind of be your third, fourth centre. And then he can move players like Texia, who looks like he might be a first-line winger to start the season for this Blue Jackets team. Look to see him have a great year, by the way, and sort of take things off. Bjorkstrand as well. As well could have a good one. It could really elevate Pierre-Luc Dubois to be the superstar that he can be. Because where do I think this team will be? This is the team I think misses out. I originally said Florida Panthers will probably be fifth. Now doing the Blue Jackets, I think this is your fifth. I think this is the fifth. The reason being is that this is what I think. I think their ceiling is a lot higher than that. Like, there's a lot more room to move. I think their bottom is kind of fifth. Like, this is kind of what I expect from them. But if things go their way, or they have a good month like they did last year, I think they had 2 good months in December and January, where they were winning a lot of games. I think they went like, 16, 5 and 3 or something like that. It was those 2 months, but everything else was 500. So if you look at this team and their stats, goal scoring is like 27th in the league, but goals against is 3rd. I don't think that's something you can keep going on. We obviously looked at last year, and yours truly said that they don't have goaltending. Boy, was I wrong. Elvis and Corpusalo did amazing last year. Now, whether that's them full-time or there's going to be a hiccup anywhere here and there is another thing to be worried about. But the real reason I don't think they're going to be super great is because last year they did go on these months that were just 500. And they kind of had to elevate themselves in a month. I don't think you have time to do that this season with the shortened schedule. So I think they're kind of going to be on that bubble missing out. Because you can't predict a team to go 9-2 or whatever it was that they did in January. You can't predict that a team's going to be able to do that. So that's why I'm saying this the ceiling can be higher. And the way that that's going to work is if Dubois has a great season, Seth Jones, who is already an early candidate for Norris, which I don't know if he's quite there. I think he's a great defender. I am not one of those people on the internet that thinks he's bust or not a good defender. He's definitely a top 10 defender in this league. But I don't know about Norris. I think it would be more of a Drew Doughty Lifetime Achievement Award if they gave it to him. Texier needs to jump up as well and have a very good season for them to do well. But yeah, it's just... I'm just a little bit worried of it all. I think losing Wenberg's hurts a tiny little bit. And it's just a team that I think, and I don't know about you guys, but it was just a team for me that I was kind of waiting for them to do another thing. I was just waiting for one more thing to happen, and nothing really happened. So that's why I just don't think they're going to quite have enough to be able to get into that playoff spot. I think it's going to be... I think Tampa, Carolina, Dallas, and Florida will be above them, unfortunately, if Bob can get it together. But obviously, like, if their goaltenders play really, really well, and they can if they can get just someone that could be that superstar, and I think Dubois has the potential to do that, even though, like, he still hasn't really had that great season yet that would jump up to the next thing. But if he can get to, like, an 80, 90 point pace, this team will be well and truly above there. But they just need someone to be an elite scorer. They need someone that can take the edge off the rest of the team, because it's been scoring by committee for a long, long time with this franchise. Even when Panarin was there and doing well, it was still scoring by committee because it was kind of him, and then there was a huge gulf to everyone else. I think they need a bit out of Werenski and Gravikov as well. Those probably two defenders that I think need to sort of solidify those roles. Even though, again, they haven't been letting goals in, but their goalies kind of played lights out for huge. That portion that they won a lot of games in December and January. Look at the goalie stats. Just look at the goalie. It's not them scoring more. So yeah. Also, we're kind of at that threshold point of Tortorella. If you kind of look at his history. And I know a lot of people saying he's a different coach than he was before, and I do believe it to some point, but if you look at his history with the Rangers, with Tampa Bay, we're at that 5th, 6th year. We're at the 6th year now. And this is kind of the moment where usually players stop listening to him. This is usually the point. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Like, 6 years as a coach in the NHL is a pretty long time. I'd be definitely one of the longer serving coaches now. Yeah, I'm super curious how this goes with this team. But yeah, it's just an odd team to talk about, this one, because you just don't know what they're going to do going forward. Like, what's their ceiling? Like, where's it all at? Their organization, you look at their prospects, there's some okay-ish ones there, except for Tarasov. Tarasov looks like it's going to be lights out and really probably force one of these goalies to be traded next off-season, I'm assuming. So we'll see which one of those ends up getting moved on as well. So there'll be some options to be able to get some pieces in. And obviously if Dubois ends up getting traded, which I don't think happens this season. I was listening to Elliot Friedman on 31 Thoughts podcast. He said there's more to this story. He says it's not all the Torts thing, it's not all this. He just says that there's something missing that he reckons, and he can't get that piece to it. So be curious how that all plays out in the end of this. But yeah. So yeah, unfortunately I have them just missing out of the playoffs. I have a feeling, I mean, that's kind of where they've been the last season, right? Like the last few seasons, they've squeaked into the playoffs, so that's why I'm saying they're just missing out. But they can definitely get in. But I just think it's going to take a little bit of luck and some people to have above average performances. Nick Foligno, I'm starting to see him drop off a little bit, so I'm a little bit worried about that. But yeah, I think it's a good place to sort of wrap up the video. Anyway, guys, if you did like this video, hit the like button, because it helps out and it like raises in the algorithms, and then I get more views, and then I get more subscribers, which if you haven't done, you should go do that. It does a magic trick where the button's red and then it turns grey, and it's the greatest thing you'll ever see in your life. So go click it now. Did you do it? Did you hit it? You didn't hit it, did you? You didn't want it. No. And comment down below, what do you think of the Columbus Blue Jacket season? Do you agree with what I've said? Do you disagree with what I've said? That's fine. Put it in the comments down below. We can have a chat afterwards. Otherwise, yeah, some of the other subs can all get together and have a bit of banter. But yes, anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. See you and bye. And there's still 2 more of these to go up. So we've still got Tampa Bay and Dallas. So exciting evening for me.